The title of the movie is Enoch, a biopic of Pastor Adeboye. Spoiler alert, but there's really nothing I'm spoiling per se that would stop you from watching the movie. You will be blessed. The Holy Spirit will minister to you. You would pick your own lessons. Honestly, it's irrespective of what I'm saying here. If you've not watched the movie, please just go ahead and watch it and you will enjoy it. Yeah, you will. The thing is, I'm not a movie person. I hardly watch movies. So this movie is even my first movie for the year 2023. But for movies like this, I tend to take them a bit personal, like The Train. If you've watched The Train, I think you'll be able to relate to what I'm saying. Yeah. So I watched it with my notes and I watched it with a pen. I was penning down and I just felt like sharing. You know, I had already thought about filming this video. I watched this movie yesterday actually, so I'm filming this video the next day. And Tolu reached out to me that I should film a movie review of this. And I told her that yeah, I already had it in mind. It dropped upon my spirit that I should film this. So this is just me reviewing the movie. If you've not watched it or if you need a reason to watch it, please, this is your reason. And I'm hoping that you'll be blessed by this movie. Yeah, so I'm not giving the entire movie gist. I'm just going to pick out specific areas or parts of the movie that I felt ministered or spoke to me, and hopefully would also speak to you as well. So the movie title is Enoch, a biopic of Pastor Enoch Adeboye. So right from the beginning, we see the movie starting off with Enoch having a zeal to go to school. Basically, he even chose not to eat because he really wanted to go to school, and it became a burden to his mom. And you know, his mom was so bothered. The first lesson I picked there was the role the father played. The father was not showed in many scenes, to be honest. Like within the first few minutes of the movie, he was done with his part of the movie. But he played a very key and a very important role that really caught my attention. He had a very beloved, a cherished ram, but because his son had a zeal for school and was insisting on school, the father was willing to sell off his cherished lamb so that his son would go to school. It was not something that he thought of for so long. The mom just came to have a conversation that, okay, this boy is insisting. And on the spot, he decided that I'm ready to let go of that which is the most cherished to me, just so that my son or my child could have the education that he so desires or wants. And you know, while I watched that scene, I got a bit emotional because I'm just thinking of the sacrifices our parents do make. I know the sacrifices my parents have made for me, for my education, for, you know, the things I've gotten. And I'm like, there's really nothing like a parent's love, to be honest, because they would go to any extent, to any length. They would deny themselves of the finest things or their most cherished things. They are willing to let go like this just so that their children can have the future that is good for them. If the father had insisted that Enoch was not going to go to school, there was really nothing Enoch could have done about it. I mean, the family would just keep celebrating the very fat and cherished ram or lamb, but the father chose to let go of it. And that was the first step I see in accomplishing Enoch's dreams. It was not delayed. The father could have played a major role in delaying Enoch's destiny, but he chose not to delay it. And the boy went to school, and you know, he excelled. Another person that I picked a lesson from that played a key role in the life of Enoch and in fulfilling destiny was the principal. When the principal sent for him that his dad had died, I saw a very caring person. I saw a person that was interested in his destiny there. The principal followed Enoch home. I don't know if it was common or if it is normal, but the principal followed him to his village to, you know, probably sympathize with his family. And the main lesson I picked there was when he came back, his dad had died and the source of his school fees had basically died. and the principal gave him a second shot at excelling. Number one is Enoch was a bright student. He was literally the best in his class, and his destiny would have been cut short at the point of losing his father. He could have easily just go back to being a village champion, or just go back to, you know, being a petisan or whatever in the village. But the principal gave him another shot at education. He gave him an alternative. Okay, you go ahead with your education, but you would have to sign a form that after you're done and after you get a job, you would have to pay back the school fees you owe the school. And of course, Enoch was very passionate about school, took the offer and took the option. And after the secondary school scene, the principal's scene was over and all of that. Number one is there was a spirit of sympathy and empathy, even as a person in a position of leadership. So I picked a lesson there that if I'm placed in a position of leadership, the welfare of the people shepherding should also be a priority to me. The principal, if he did not follow Enoch home, he was not wrong, but he chose to extend sympathy and even give options to if destiny that he saw was excelling or doing well. Now, at the episode of or the scene or the season of meeting Foluke, that's his wife, guys, there was I interpreted the movie. I was too quick to tell the end of the movie from the beginning. At the point of meeting Foluke, she said, oh, she went to United Missionary College. In my mind, I had already pictured an image of, wow, interesting. Foluke went to United Missionary College. This is going to be a power couple. She's already on fire for Jesus. You know, right from the beginning, I was hoping to see a part of salvation or meeting Jesus, especially from secondary school. But he finished his entire secondary school without an encounter and now proceeded to the university to study mathematics. So at the point of meeting Foluke, I'm like, fire branded woman, United Missionary College, this is going to be a fire couple. But the movie didn't really turn out how I had imagined it, or how I had envisioned it to go. I would say she was in United Missionary College, but she wasn't really saved. She wasn't even saved, because the point of salvation came later on for both husband and wife. There was also a season where Satan or sorcery or divination had a stronghold in their home and in their marriage. We saw Baba Adeboye heading from one shrine to the other, basically. And in this season, in this period or this season, I just expected that the missionary college girl should have been a gatekeeper in her home, but she wasn't, apparently, and Baba had to resolve to, you know, going to shrines. Since the gatekeeper wasn't gatekeeping, the sorcery or the shrine part happened, resolved to, you know, visiting shrines that obviously he did not get his answer. Eventually he was also directed to a church. He went to a church and the message touched him and touched his wife, because they went together, and an altar call was made and the couple stood up and gave their life to Christ. Basically, they came forward and decided to surrender to Jesus Christ. Now, I noticed something in that scene, that there was an interest first to respond to the altar call by Enoch Adeboye first. And it's obviously he was touched, the wife was touched, but when he wanted to stand up and, you know, go for the altar call, he gave his wife a nudge like, let's go, and, you know, she stood up and went along. Obviously, if she did not want to, I don't think he would have been able to force her. I don't think, like, I mean, they were in church, there was no time for drama, for back and forth. Besides, it is me that is being touched, so I might as well just get up and go for the altar call. But since I came with you, I want to be sure that what I'm feeling is what you're feeling. The message I got is the same message you got, and, you know, she followed his leading. I saw a place of a head, especially in the home in this scene. Foluke just trusted his judgment. She just believed that, okay, he's my husband. I also got the message, but since he has taken the leap of faith, it is easier for her to follow and also take the leap of faith. So one lesson I picked from there is, especially for the guys, is be a good head. Be a good head. There's a reason why the Bible calls you the priest of the home. Be a good head. If the head is correct, every other part of the body obviously will be correct. So in all your doings, in all your being, please just be a good head, especially for the guys. If you make the wrong decision, it will also translate to the family. When he was going to Ifa, or when he was going to the shrine and he wasn't getting solutions to his problems, he wasn't the only one that was affected by his visit to the shrine. His entire family was affected. So wherever you choose to go to, whatever audience you choose to participate or join or be a part of, just know that it would also translate to your family. So be the priest that God has called you to be. Be the head of your family that God has called you to be. One other lesson, or one thing I noticed from the movie, is Enoch was a person of counsel. He was very quick to take in counsel. How he landed himself in a shrine was because his friend had given him a counsel to visit a shrine. And I noticed that he was a person of total obedience. If you give him advice, he would take the advice. He was advised to go to a shrine, he went straight. The shrine wasn't even working. He was advised to go to supposedly a better herbalist or traditional doctor or whatever you want to call it, and he took the advice. And when his solutions were not coming, his big uncle still gave him advice. Okay, let me take you to church. And he followed. He was just a follower. He was just a person of counsel, always taking counsel. And even the Bible states it clearly that we should take good counsel. It rang in my head that it's actually true that it is very easy to take advice or counsel from friends. So first of all, marry your friend, I'm going to say, and be watchful of the people, the company you keep, because they will most likely be determining the course of your life or the steps you're going to be taking. Another place that I picked a lesson was a place of obedience. I think I've chipped that in somewhere prior to now, that Enoch Adeboye was a person of complete and total obedience. Now, it was announced in church that everybody should bring their savings, everybody should empty their account and bring to church. You know what I learned from that place was obedience is first of all an individual thing before it is a collective thing. Yeah. Baba went to his bank and emptied his account and came back and told his wife that, oh, I couldn't sleep, I was just waiting for morning just so that I could empty my account and take it to church. What I read in between the line from there was no discussion of should we go and empty our account. It was an individual thing. He just went straight ahead, emptied his account and came with his proceeds. Now his wife did the same thing. It was at that point they realized that, oh, she was like, oh, I went and emptied my account as well. So obedience is first of all an individual. It will be easier to obey as a group if there is a personal obedience or if there is individual obedience first. Another lesson I picked from the movie was when Baba Akindayomi died. That was the general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, died, and his successor was announced according to his will, Enoch Adeboye, who happened to be the youngest in the midst of the pastors. And the heart posture of a lot of people were revealed at that point, at that juncture, because some people, honestly, the only reason why they were pastors was because they wanted to take over. And those that really did not care, like whoever was the new general overseer, it was their heart posture were revealed at that point. When Enoch was announced, a lot of people, some people got annoyed and left the church at that point, because I mean, they are wondering, when did Enoch Adeboye join the church? He literally gave his life to Christ in the church. They were the ones that held his hands, that walked him through his salvation, that taught him how to read and understand the Bible, taught him how to pray, taught him how to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit and all of that. So they are just wondering, like, why would Baba Kindayomi just will the church to this young man that literally came after us? And one thing I realized was, it doesn't matter who is first, it doesn't matter who joined last or who joined first. The heart's posture is what God is looking at. God will only use a heart that is willing and that is available. So if you like, be in a setting, in a group for years, and if you think that you're just in that group, or if the posture of your heart is one that is only there for the benefit because I've been there the longest, so I should be honored the most, God will just pack you one side and just use a heart that is willing, that is yielding. I learned humility from Enoch Adeboye in this movie. He was a person of humble heart. He was a person of yielding spirit, of taking counsel. There are two more things I want to say last before I end this video. The first was, after Redeemed Christian Church of God was handed over to Enoch Adeboye, it was a tough one. If he did not want to take it, he would have not taken it, and nobody would have forced it down his throat. But it was a heavy responsibility. It was a heavy responsibility. And there was a prayer that he prayed, that, Lord, grant me more strength and grace, because the journey ahead is not an easy one. And yeah, the entire journey from when he became GO at a very young age up until this point that he is currently, it cannot be summarized in a 2-hour movie. But just key highlights were what we've been able to see on the movie. And I'm just imagining how heavy it must have been for him to leave everything and obey. He just left everything. I mean, this man was the overall best in secondary school, excelled in university, was already a PhD student at a very young age. He had a goal. He had his own goal and his own dream of becoming the youngest vice chancellor. And for some reason, God was calling him to leave all of this and follow. Now, he was quite comfortable because, I mean, he was already doing well for himself in his career and in his field. And he was living in, I think, maybe a 2-bedroom. His house he was very comfortable. But when this role of general overseer was given to him, what he did not see was, it was almost looking like a demotion, because now he had to pack out of comfort and move into a 1-bedroom apartment with his family. It cost him a lot, and definitely he had his moments of doubt. He had his moment of, am I really supposed to be doing this? Should I even be doing this? But one thing that stood out for me was that he married right, to be honest. Even though he and his wife were not saved when they got married, but God showed them mercy. And his wife was also that helpmeet that she was supposed to be, because she was that convincing voice to go ahead. You know, when he had his doubts that we are moving out of this big house to a 1-bedroom, I will have to resign at my job and now be a full-time minister of the gospel. His wife said, I'm right beside you. Let's take the leap of faith. Let's trust God. I mean, he that started a good work is able to bring it to a perfect completion. She was the convincing voice that he needed to go ahead and be what God had called him to be. And this movie just reminds me of The Train. Yeah, if you've not watched it, please do watch it on Mike Bamiloye's YouTube channel. Both movies are there. And if you don't know, or if you're just hearing about Enoch Adeboye for the very first time, yeah, Baba, as he's fondly called or popularly known as, he's the general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. It is quite a big and a popular church in Nigeria, and even outside of this nation. It's an international church. I don't think it's a church that you would miss. Yeah, they have quite so many branches. And I'm just thinking about it, a church that literally started from a congregation of just a few people to now having people as just as many as the word many can be. Yeah, So that last part, I'm a crybaby when I'm watching movies, but the funny thing was I didn't really get so emotional. I was just, you know, my spirit was just picking up these lessons. I'm like, wow, interesting. So I was just taking notes as I was watching the movie and just, you know, meditating on one or two things there. But the part that really made the tears come was the ending part, when the recording was being played, the recording that Baba Akindayomi, after he had passed on, and when he was calling his name, oh Adeboye, Adeboye, and it just, you know, they just showed campground, like this very massive stage. It started from a very little stage. So God honoring one man's obedience, one man's yielding, one man's just leaving everything and following, and you know, to this very large audience with a choir as massive as, I think, over 500 people in that mass choir. And you know, it was just so emotional. And I just looked at it and I'm like, this is what one man's obedience yields. So I can just imagine what my obedience is going to yield if I just hear God and obey God. If that is what one man's obedience can do, imagine if all of us in our generation are yielding and are obeying the voice of God and the calling of God upon our lives. So I pray that God will help us to live in obedience, to seek godly counsel, to live in humility, and to be that which He has called us to be, in Jesus' name. Yeah. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you find one or two that you've enjoyed, or one or two that is quite helpful to you. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.